start out by you telling me your name, who you are. Yeah.
My name is Will Cohn. I'm a junior film student at CU Denver. I'm interested in directing and making movies.
Okay. I'm Derek. I'm a third-year student at UCD, and I am a writer-director.
Yeah, so my name's Isabel Bowden, which I obviously wear. And I'm a film student here, and my interests are production design and cinematography. So.
My name is Ben Christopherson, and I am a student at CU Denver who mainly focuses on writing and acting.
I am Fox Hughes. I'm a prospective student at CU Denver for their film department.
I'm not sure if I'm lucky enough or talented enough to really do what I need to do.
So this psychological phenomenon known as imposter syndrome reflects a belief that one is inadequate or incompetent failure, despite evidence that indicates they are skilled and or successful. Imposter syndrome can manifest as a pattern of self-doubt, which can lead to anxiety, stress, and missed opportunities. It is not classified as a mental disorder, though low self-esteem and a sense of failure, which are both classified as imposter syndrome, are recognized as symptoms of depression as well.
Okay.
So that's why I am bringing light to imposter syndrome to people, because it actually is a big part of mental health. So can you tell me what you know about imposter syndrome?
Fictitious belief that you are incapable and incompetent and you can't do anything correctly, or that you don't belong in a certain space or around certain people.
It's when your objective capabilities are not matched by what you subjectively view them to be.
But it's effectively about someone who feels like they don't necessarily belong in the place where they are at, or they aren't good enough compared to the people who they are around. It's almost like they're playing a character that they aren't actually are, and people are giving them praise that they really do not deserve.
What I think imposter syndrome is when you feel like you're not the person that everybody else thinks that you are, or like you're lying to the world has some misconception about, like you're not the person everybody thinks that you are.
Have you had imposter syndrome manifest in you?
It doesn't really happen in a vacuum, my version of imposter syndrome, I guess, but it would happen specifically when I compare myself to other people. And that person's a better actor, that person's a better director, or even stuff I don't care about that much. In my editing class specifically, that's one that I think got it brought up a lot, was I always felt like I couldn't do what these other people had done. And I'd been doing Adobe After Effects for a month or something like that, and I was comparing myself to people who'd been doing it for 3 years, and so it wasn't really a fair comparison. But when your work is being shown right after theirs, there's no way you can't compare it, at least for me. So
I think the film industry breeds a lot of imposter syndrome in people because you need to be perfect and you need to be really good, and there's a lot of critics who don't see the amount of work that go into even bad films.
Vaguely, yeah. I run a very popular YouTube channel. I have done it since I was 15 years old. I've been doing YouTube since I was 12. I started making money when I was 15, and it's been my full-time job since I was 15. And through that, I've had a lot of different opportunities and learned a lot. And I don't know. It's a weird thing because it's such a consistent part of my life, but it also feels very detached from me. At least when I'm doing well, when I'm feeling good, it feels very detached from me. It feels like a totally different thing. It's just like a character that I play, and the workload is a lot, and editing sucks. That's always not fun, but it's not I try my best not to let it impact my day-to-day life. I try not to carry the ego that I would carry on camera into my life. So I try to have a pretty clear separation, at least personally I do. And I don't know if many people who know me feel that, but for me, myself, the important thing is that I feel the distinction between the two.
Currently, I'm a producer's assistant. I'm working with one of my professors on one of her projects. And this is like my first job that I feel like is in the field, I guess. I've had like an internship before, but I never felt any imposter syndrome working at Dunkin' Donuts or anything like that. But I was kind of handpicked for the job I've got now. And then the job, a producer's assistant, came at a time when producing was not something I was enjoying. Producing is like, I mean, we're all filmmakers, and producing is important and it's necessary. But it's also stressful and draining and something I really hope I'm not doing for the rest of my career. And to be like handpicked, to say, hey, I think you would be really good at this job for this thing like I did not like, it was really hard and confusing. And as I got more into the job, I think I sort of like continued that experience of being like told I'm good at something I don't like at all, and like I'm like, you know, struggling through. And I guess the imposter syndrome of it comes from this feeling of like, you know, I was picked for this. I was told I'd be good at this, you know. And if I'm not good at this, if it's clear I'm not enjoying this, then it's like you know, like she picked the wrong person, or
I'm not sure if I'm lucky enough or talented enough to really like do what I need to do.
Me, myself, one of the only activities where I don't feel like an imposter is when I'm actually pretending to be somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm living this truth that I'm actually, I'm actually being an imposter at that time. I'm not feeling like I'm lying anymore.
Then at that point, I think I feel like an imposter, not only with the fact that I want to be an actor and I feel like I'm doing awful and therefore I'm not actually a great actor at all and I'm not going to be able to do this, but also at the fact that like, hey, you're not even like playing this character now, you're playing nothing that you think is correct, and it is kind of like wearing a mask and pretending you're someone else, as opposed to then like being that other person.
It's like a weird thing for me to say, yeah, I suffer from imposter syndrome, because it almost feels like an egotistical thing just for me to say like, yes, I have these problems, I know I'm better than I say I am, but I don't believe I am, if that makes sense.
I've actually always looked up to you since I met you in this school, because your confidence level of how you approach classes, how you approach students, and your topics, you're always so passionate about it.
Classic deflection method. I generally try my best to exude a certain level of confidence regardless of what I'm feeling. And it's very interesting because I don't know why it happened, but I definitely had a massive shift around my senior year of high school in terms of how I view myself and how I feel about myself. And times when I'm not feeling good about myself or when I'm particularly down, and these are times where this line gets really blurred for me between I don't even know who I am, and I don't, that's when all of my problems with YouTube or anything that would bleed into my normal life really don't. I definitely feel very inferior to my peers and my siblings and to everybody, really. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like to act so confident, is because on some level psychologically, I think by me acting that way, it's telling myself that I am not as bad as I think I am. I'm always, I feel like, playing the part that will cause the least amount of conflict, despite the fact that I'm known for getting into conflict. That's my way of not having myself deal with
I
conflict.
enjoy directing actors and everything, but I hate being a director, if you know what I mean. Because I hate the thought that like the entire project relies solely on me, and even if it's somebody else's fault that like the project didn't turn out in this one area because somebody messed up, that's still on me. If it doesn't turn out well, it's all on you, and that feels so bad, and I hate that feeling of just like being at the point where you are at, like either be pre-production, production, or post-production, and then you look at the thing that you're making and you're like, oh man, I don't know if this is gonna turn out. And if you're in post-production, you can always fix things. If you're in pre-production, you can especially fix things. But like, once you reach that point in any stage of the production, it just feels so bad and like very soul-crushing. So I think that's one thing that I've experienced that kind of has led me away from the directing.
The way it is trying to distract myself with something that I can view as productive. So at least I'm getting something accomplished, and I'm not feeling like I'm wasting time. As far as like life-wise goes, I see my friends taking vacations all the time, or I'll see them, they're like really fit now when they didn't used to be or something, and that always makes me feel very insecure about the fact that I either just don't have the money or the time or the resources or the body or whatever that they do.
Like 3-4 hours on it, and then I'll beat myself up and say like those were 3 or 4 hours that you could have been doing something that you genuinely enjoy or like being productive, and you wasted it. And then I just, I feel like I don't actually enjoy social media. That's not a way for me to relax. It's just a way for me to dissociate. I think it's hard because growing up, I didn't understand what was going on because my dad worked in the housing market during the market crash in 2008. So that stress impacted my family, my parents' relationships, and then it kind of trickled down to like my brother and I and how we grew up. So like they didn't have confidence in themselves because of what was going on, and so that confidence wasn't nurtured in me until like later. I don't think I started gaining confidence until my senior year of high school, or like started like trusting myself at all. It's not at the fault at my parents. I'm not blaming my parents. They did the best they could with what they had, and considering everything that they've gone through, I mean, they did an amazing job. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I think, and also like, I feel like in like the Hispanic community, there's this argument whether you're like Latina enough or whatever, especially if you have like one Latina parent, one white.
I never consider myself an expert on a subject because I know that the things that I know are like this big, and the things that I don't know are like this big. But I know that the things that I know, I don't know, are so vast that I will never possibly be able to like figure them all.
Very uncomfortable because it feels like I'm bragging, and despite the fact this is things that people ask for or show off this, buy this product and show it off. It makes me feel very guilty to do that, despite the fact that I do a lot of that because people ask for it.
So I'm on 4 productions right now, so currently doing that. I definitely work myself way too hard. I work a job. I'm, like I said, 4 productions, doing classes. I constantly overwork myself so I don't have to think about my problems, which is a horrible habit. Don't do it. Anybody who's watching, don't do that. But I don't think it really, I think it helps my imposter syndrome. I don't think so much when I was in high school, I hated it, it made me depressed. But I think now, since I'm working collaboratively with other people, it actually kind of helps me. Because I'm invested in these projects that like I really enjoy, and I'm spending time with people that I really enjoy. So like now, like, and I also like my job. it's something that, like, it's in the field that I'm hoping to go into after I'm done with college. So it kind of is like, oh, you know, like I'm being validated and I'm learning things and like I'm spending time with people I enjoy. So like, I get before, definitely.
Because I don't let my inadequacies like affect how I react to other people. I mean, I've definitely had, like I can look at half the people in the program and I can see that they are better at something than I am. And I think that's amazing to see. And I love it when people are better than I am at something. It kind of affected me a lot when I started writing for thesis, because my initial idea was garbage and I couldn't think of anything, and so I was like, I want to be a writer and I can't think of anything to actually write about. This is awful. And then I figured out something to write about, and now I feel really confident in my outline, so I don't feel as bad. So I think inherently you do have this kind of feeling of inadequacies due to the people around you if you cannot produce something that you are proud of.
So it's the fake it till you make it kind of thing.
I'm a strong believer in that. Yes, I'm a strong believer in a fake it till you make it approach. Yeah.
I think it's kind of true, but at the same time, if you don't believe in yourself, then you can't really, it's really hard to fake it. Like, you have to have a little belief in yourself in order to be like, yeah, I might be able to do it, and you can only fake it to a certain point. I think the motto should be like, do your best to do your best, you know? Try to give 100% of your energy to it, as much as you can, and keep on trying to learn new things to be better. Because if you think that you're great, then I think that holds you back. So I think a little bit of imposter syndrome, thinking that you aren't not necessarily as good as people think you are, can be good in helping you improve as a person and helping you improve as a film.
See, that's a big part of this documentary is like how imposter syndrome can actually affect a person's depression. If they're already struggling with depression and anxiety, that statement, if they're faking it, then and they're logically knowing that they're faking it,
Right.
actually is giving them more depression and
Yeah.
more anxiety
Yeah.
until they break,
Yeah.
which happened to me last winter break.
I have generalized anxiety disorder, so 100%. I think the place that it manifests the most in my life is in my personal relationships. It doesn't affect my work, surprisingly, because my work is like a huge part of my life. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm like, if I messed up, you know, there's another project. But like, you can't replace a relationship that you have with a person, right? And so a lot of times I feel like, oh, they don't care about me, they don't like me, they don't like being around me. And you know, if I get reassurance from that person, I don't believe that. And then I feel like crap because I can't imagine loving someone or, you know, finding someone to be like so like endearing or happy or like supportive in your.
Yeah, I definitely have my struggles with mental health. I feel like every couple of years I have a pretty massive collapse. I feel like last semester was just one long, sustained collapse. But on the whole, it's not, you know, it's like, I think it hits these points where it gets me really, really hard. But even when things like that are happening to me, I'm still able to recognize to myself that at some point, I'm not going to feel like this because I've been through it before. So I know that at some point, I'll round that corner again, and it's just a matter of when. But I definitely fall into the fake it till you make it category big time.
So is that how you cope with it? Is like you're telling yourself the positive affirmations, like, or just like.
No, it's not like I'm not sitting there being like, oh, you're doing a good job or anything like that. I don't. I just pretend that I don't. Well, I think the way that I cope with it is probably the worst way to cope with it, in that I just don't think about it. I just ignore it completely, and I just try not to worry about it. I will typically double down and focus on something else that I view as productive to get my mind off of things. That's a big thing that I do. Even that's just my my main coping mechanism. Even still is if I'm struggling in one area of my life, I will typically turn to somewhere else where I have more control. So if I'm struggling in classes, a lot of the time I'll fall back onto YouTube and I'll be working very hard on that. Or if I'm struggling with YouTube stuff, I'll fall into classes or personal life sometimes factors in there. I don't really give myself the time I should to allow myself to develop a personal life. I'm actively trying to be better about that, but historically I haven't been very good about that. So it's like a weird balance.
90% of the time, you're better than you think you are. That's probably my advice. Doubt's healthy doubt. There's not a lot of doubt that is healthy. It's like a spice. Doubt's like a spice. Like a little bit's good, but if you pour the whole bottle in, it ruins the food. So, unless that's your taste, then like go ahead. But like 90% of the time, probably gonna ruin it.
So regardless if I make it or not, I'm going to try my best to make it, and I'm going to try my best to like go through with it. And even if I don't think I'm good enough, or even if I make a bunch of garbage, I will still have at least made things. And I think that's the most important part, and that's what I've kind of figured out, is that even if you aren't necessarily good enough, even if you can't do it for a living, you have to at least try, and you have to at least make something. Because if the drive is there, you're gonna do it. If the drive isn't there, then you're not. But I think that if you can really hone down what you enjoy, and if you can try your best to refine your abilities and create something that you are proud of, it's going to hurt worse when you find somebody who's better than you, but you're always going to find people who are better than you. And honestly, if you find somebody who's better than you, just work on seeing that and be like, maybe one day I can be as good as them. And try to work on yourself more than working on yourself compared to others. And just because I have ways to cope doesn't necessarily mean that it's gone. Like, I will sometimes just be sad because I don't think I'm gonna make it, and I don't think I'm good enough, and I don't think that things are going to work out. But when I have those feelings, I just, like, I need to realize in myself that even if I don't think I'm good enough, I have to at least give it my all. And I have to at least try to prove to myself that I can do some things well. And I have to do it to the best of my abilities. And even if I don't make it, I'll still do things. I'll still make things. It would suck really bad, but ultimately, it's what I love doing. So, imposter syndrome or not, I'm gonna keep doing.
At the same time, it's like it does feel like I'm just bragging, like I'm just showing off. So I don't think there's like a good way to fix that problem other than if you are struggling with your self-image or something and you know it's social media related, to just unplug. That's the best way to do it. I mean, as someone who produces content and I get copious amounts of hate, if my mental health isn't very good, that really sticks with me, and I carry that through the day. And I'll just, those comments or whatever will weigh me down and ruin what could have been a fine day. And those are the times when I really just have to step back and unplug. And also, it's, I think another thing that's important is balancing your life. If you don't have the time to be spending on social media, then don't. Even me, where it's my job to produce social media content, when I'm in the middle of a semester like I am right now, I can't look at it. I can't focus on that. So I'm not making money.
Keep drawing. If you truly, like, want to do something, you're never gonna, give up on it. You're always gonna keep on trying. And I would say just keep trying. Keep on keeping on.
I think I'm really bad to give advice because like I said, I feel incredibly inferior to everybody around me, whether it be in watching our Prod 3 films, or editing, or directing, or writing, or personal life stuff also in particular. I always feel like I deserve to be where I'm at, alone, secluded, because of course there's better options than me. So why would anybody want to spend time with me? They should go do something more productive and hang out with people better. So it's like, I can give advice, yes, but I'll be hypocritical because I don't take it. If I was to give advice to myself, getting sleep, the thing that I don't do, eating healthy, working out, those are things that make me feel good. And I don't do them during the semester because the workload, I feel like if I was to do those things to a degree that would make me mentally healthy, I would be falling behind in classes, which would then in turn make me not mentally healthy. So eat food, sleep, go work out, take a break from social media, and don't compare yourself to others. That's the thing that I try my hardest not to do. I try so hard to not compare myself to others. I think if you can just look at your work as your work and compare yourself to yourself, that's where the healthy comparison is. That's where the productive self-critiquing is going to be. As soon as you add anybody else into that equation, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. But yeah, I don't know, it's like something I still struggle with, so. I wish at least in a school workspace that they would have less emphasis on the comparison. I feel like we're constantly being judged against each other by the staff and the faculty, and the whole program is built around, this program in particular is built entirely around comparing yourself to others. And healthy competition I think is very important, but I don't know if it's important at this stage where our professors are basically actively setting us up for failure every chance they get. I feel like we're constantly being sabotaged with the workload we were given, with the scheduling, the interdepartment communication that just doesn't exist, and then professors who are just bad people. And it's like, we've got enough to worry about. I don't know if we need to be judged against each other. And say what you will about Cinefest, it's fun to go watch everybody's films. I like doing that. I don't know why we're doing an awards ceremony for that. It feels like counterproductive to me. I don't get it. I don't get the point. Yeah, I don't.